The original plan for the van was to make the curtain that provides some privacy between the cab and the living section simple by just putting in a straight rail, which meant putting in a soffit, and I've gone off that idea. The main problem being that if I kneel here, I mean, this is fine. It's a day van, really. It's for weekends. It's not for living in. It's better than a tent. It is something better than a tent in every respect, and that's really all I'm trying to make it. I'm not trying to take my house with me. So because of that, this height is quite critical, and I find that we'll want to get through this nice big gap from the seats into the back without going out, and which is one of the attractions of the van in the first place. And of course, that gets a bit tight on the old head, so I decided ditch the soffit, the infil soffit, and I've sourced a very flimsy curtain rail that should deform to fit onto this headliner, but before I even attempt that, I need to address the aerial, which is snapped off on quite close to the roof on the outside, and the only way to fix it is to take this headlining down and remove it, replace it with a new one which is bolted from the inside. So this has to come down to get access, but before I can do that, I have to take all of these various bits and pieces off it. That's what I'm doing today. Hey ho, on we go. But it's done. The aerial has been put in with the radio work as a result. It does sort of work, but I've had to bodge, quote unquote, a few things to get the cabling in. But I suspect there's something wrong with the radio, and as well as the fact that the radio aerial was snapped off on the roof. So that's been done, and I've got this curtain track finally arrived. And it's really lovely, thin, delicate little curtain track. And the once I've got the headlining sort of up, I've cut this already, and I'm just going to self-tap this up to the ceiling, and well, to this. Now that I know what is on the other side of it as a result of taking it down, I'm fairly confident I can just fix it with self-tappers. I'm going to try and fix it first, and then once that's done, I'll take it back down, because I want to paint the white. I don't want it white, and given that it's powder coated aluminium, I can spray paint it silver or dark grey too. Dark grey really would be better, to match the rest of the interior of the van. So that's what we're up to today. So I'm quite pleased how this has all moved forward, in that I've fully fitted the rail, I've taken it back down, painted it, put it back up again, and I'm really pleased with how easily it runs. But of course, part of the reason for putting in a soffit was because I knew it would make it easier to put in a straight rail than a curved rail, and now I've had to use the original template I made for the soffit to create the shape of the top of the curtain to match the shape of the curtain rail, so that when it's hung up, it all hangs as one would want it to look, not a bunch of rags. So that's been quite a complicated piece of sewing to do, and further complicated by the fact that I'm using a blackout curtain which is rubberized on one side with matte clearly matte fabric on the other, with the rubberized surface on the inside of what is then a double curtain that has a grey fleece blanket to match the curtains that I've made, well, the cushions that I've made for the side of the van, so that when you're in it, I mean, it looks purposeful, but good Lord, was this ever an enormous amount of work to do. And yeah, I clearly demonstrated that I won't be entering this great sewing bee competition, but I am pleased at how it's complex though it was to make. I am quite pleased at how it's all turned out. All I've got to do now is to sew on some Velcro tabs and put some self-adhesive Velcro hooks on the side of the van to finish off that side closing. That's the last thing to do, but I can get away from doing curtains and move on to fitting out the van.